where you want it.
Bay 12, please.
Hello there, Transformers fans. Welcome back to another Bay 12 video review. I have been looking forward to doing this video review since they showed the Legacy Evolution banner artwork and we saw Armada Optimus Prime at the top. That's how long I've been looking forward to doing this review. Because the second they showed it, I was like, oh, that's going to be this year's Commander class. And it was. And they nailed it. They just absolutely nailed this figure. It's definitely a 9.5 out of 10 for me. I dare say so far, this is probably my favorite figure to be released this year. And part of that is due to nostalgia bias, sure. While Armada wasn't the first show I watched as a kid, because I didn't, while it was out at that time, I was watching Generation 1. Still, I was playing catch up, because one, I didn't really watch a lot of cable TV or satellite TV, which was the growing thing back then. And what I mostly watched was VHS reruns of Generation 1 from my local library. That was me getting to watch cartoons, getting to watch TV a lot in those earlier years. And despite all of that, and I've talked about this in videos past, like long past, before this one, that my first ever Optimus Prime was this one right here, my OG Armada now, Power Links Optimus Prime, which it would be cool if they do an Armada Power Links version of Optimus. I mean, if they do, I imagine it would probably be a Generation Selects or some kind of exclusive instead of a mainline piece, especially with the reveals we got for PulseCon and with Magmatron most likely being next year's Commander class figure for the main line. But anyway, this was the first ever Optimus Prime toy that I ever got. It was gifted to me by one of my oldest friends to this day, good old Chase Stanley, who gave me this, and I've loved it ever since. I've cherished it ever since, and I've of course collected many other Optimus Primes, including this new version. So when Hasbro announced that they were doing it, it was just like, wow, now we're getting to Armada. That's crazy. And then of course we've had the subsequent updates to the Armada figures that we've had in Legacy, and they've for the most part been really great, aside from some very, very small nitpicks here and there, and I mean very small. And there's a couple of very small nitpicks with this Prime, but man, Hasbro, you guys, thank you. You knocked it out of the park with this Optimus. Anyway, emotional backstory stuff aside, here we have the new Optimus Prime in the box. Windowless package. We've got some awesome artwork of him in his super mode there. Love that artwork. I'm having conflicting feelings with what I want to do with this box exactly. Do I want to keep the front panel because I really like that art, or don't I? I don't know. I don't usually keep packaging from Transformers unless it's like really, really special or looks really amazing, and this one's kind of both. So I'm probably going to end up at least keeping the front face of this box. But there you go, you got some artwork there. You've got some artwork of him going from robot mode into truck mode. And I love how that sequence looks. On this side, you've got that Legacy Evolution banner artwork. On the top, you've got a picture of the toy in truck mode. On the back, you've got various shots of him in his robot mode, his super mode, his truck mode, the trailer of the truck mode, the base mode, because the original toy had a base mode too. Now, I didn't bring the trailer to my Power Links Prime because I didn't feel like digging out of storage. I'm sorry. So we won't be getting that comparison. We won't be comparing him with the trailer. We won't be comparing them in super mode today. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the package. And here is Optimus in his regular robot mode with his trailer in its base mode right out of the packaging. Of course, I had to include little OG spark plug here since we didn't get an updated spark plug, but maybe some point soon, maybe we'll get a spark plug. Hopefully if Hasbro, you know, does some mini compacts like a lot of us fans really want them to do. Hasbro, do mini compacts, come on. And so I had to get a spark plug in anticipation for this figure, and I've had this spark plug for several months in anticipation for this figure right here. And I definitely took my own spin on the base mode that we got, which is far from how cool the base mode was with the original, because the original had these different layers and levels to it, and more mini-con interaction, of course, like a lot of the rest of the line did, because back then they were trying to both make the larger scale figures, which were at the time Optimus with his trailer and Megatron play sets, as well as individual figures for the mini-cons to interact with. They wanted a playset for the Decepticon side, they wanted a playset for the Autobot side. So Optimus's trailer fit the mold for the playset for the Autobot side, while Megatron himself was the playset for the Decepticon side. And this, I took some liberties with how I arranged it. Like, I moved these sections to the side, had the gun barrels pointed up, because the original toy, at least one of the turrets that are molded to the shin could raise up and be a little turret for a mini-con or two or other smaller scale character. And it's kind of a shame that they didn't really incorporate much of that, and I can see why they didn't, because those sacrifices had to go to the articulation of the super mode. So I get why those sacrifices were made. I appreciate those sacrifices, because as cool as the base mode was and the playset mode is, we're always going to have that original toy, and it's always going to have an awesome base mode to it. But me personally, I much prefer him having a better and more articulated super mode than having a base mode. So in my opinion, it was a necessary sacrifice, and you still kind of get a somewhat decent base mode. I mean, like a lot of the other Commander class base modes we've gotten the past few years, it's all right, but I mean, it's just all right. That's my first gripe about this figure. My other gripe about this figure is, of course, once again, no mini-con ports, or at least no male mini-con ports on Optimus or the trailer or anything like that. And then, of course, no spark plug came with him. That's it. Those are my gripes about this figure. Those are all of my gripes about this figure. Everything else I feel as though is, I dare say, pretty close to perfect, and I'm completely satisfied. Anyway, I just wanted to do this shot real quick so we could at least cover that, yes, there is a base mode. Is it great? Not really. But when it comes to a lackluster feature or just feature to this toy, that's really the only feature to this toy. Everything else about this guy, like I said, top notch, amazing. Hasbro, home run. Here is a closer look at just Optimus Prime right out of the packaging, and he looks absolutely fantastic. This is truly the greatest Armada Optimus Prime figure out on the market right now. I mean, he looks so good. He looks so accurate to both the show and even comics. He looks really good compared to the games. I mean, not that the original figure was bad. In fact, the deluxe original figure wasn't bad either, and also had really great articulation and just couldn't do the super mode thing. It's just, this one improved pretty much everything that wasn't great about the original toy, again, at the sacrifice of the base mode for the trailer. But everywhere else is a definite and very noticeable improvement. The articulation, especially, fully articulated. Look at those shoulders in and out all the way around. Head is on a ball joint, double jointed elbows, wrist joints. We didn't have any wrist articulation on the other one. The wrist articulation is there on this one. Once again, there is no waist swivel because, you know, the super mode bits, you have these panels that go side to side. The back panel goes out as well, where before those were just stationary pieces. Hip can go pretty far out, all the way out, forward and back on a nice ratchet joint. Upper thigh, single jointed knee on a ratchet. Side ankle joints, you can move the foot forward and back a little bit due to transformation. You can bring the foot up on this middle joint here due to transformation. And you have the matrix, but this time, there we go. This time it's removable. We finally have a removable matrix on an Armada Optimus Prime. And that's not the biggest deal in the world, no, but I think it's still super cool, me personally. And it's something I've always wanted to be able to do with my Optimus, so he can give it the spark plug, to give the hot shot, or whatever else. And this other panel also opens up, so I assume that's his spark casing right there. So you can see some other details in his chest for the way this transforms and becomes the front of the truck, which is pretty cool. And real quick, for comparison, also love the huge and accurately sized ion blaster. Real quick before we do that size comparison. Okay, now for real for that size comparison. Once again, here he is next to the original release, and they're roughly the same size. I mean, the original is a bit wider and bulkier, but height-wise, they're right around the same size, which is very nice. Here he is next to Megatron, so you can see them side by side. Megatron's a good bit taller than him, like he is in the show. And here he is next to Autobot we've gotten an update for so far from Armada, Hotshot. And then, of course, you know, we're going to have to compare this Hotshot with the PulseCon Hotshot coming out very, very soon. I should have it, I think, in the next week or so. So, yeah, can't wait to do that review too. But yeah, now we can see these two together, and hopefully Hasbro has plans to do an updated Red Alert soon, because Red Alert also really needed an update, especially mostly due to scaling more than anything else. Red Alert was just weirdly huge compared to the rest of the figures. He was so weirdly out of scale, I think, out of the original Armada line. Maybe it was just me, I don't know. But yeah, I'm still holding out for an update for Red Alert, because he also really needs one. I mean, more so than Optimus did, for sure. The Optimus toy, I think, still holds up. It was still a really good figure. The new one, but in my opinion, Red Alert needed an update scaling and articulation wise more than this guy did. But I'm still glad we got it, and I'm still more than happy we got it. Transformation. All right, transformation is really simple. If you had the original toy, it's almost just like it with just a couple extra steps due to the extra pieces and articulation. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate those fists so the back is facing out like so on the hands. We're going to grab these legs right here. We're going to peg them together in the middle. We're going to come over here to this back panel here. We're going to push it down, and then we're going to bring the legs up and peg that in. Peg these little side panels in. I already kind of slid it down by accident, but yeah, slide that little bit down as well. Take these wheels here, bring them up, and then tab them into these little side panels with that little tab there. So those are going to sit like so. Then we're going to open these panels on the shins, and this is not going to be the first time we do this in this review. Fold in the feet in that little mid joint there, and then tab those panels back into place. Next, we're going to bring the shoulders up just like on the original figure, and then bend that first elbow joint down as we bring it up, and then this is going to rest right here, plug right into the side of the truck. Same thing over here, just bend, bring up, tab into place, and then expose that, spark casing section, bring that all the way up, tab it in, that front piece, and then we're going to, on this double hinge joint, move these little front sections, there we go, to the middle. And there we have Optimus Prime in his truck mode. All right, now for the trailer, we're going to be moving a few parts around. Some of these parts are going to be staying pretty much in the same place they're already in, like having these sections right here out to the side. That's something that was already going to happen with the base mode. We're going to bring those legs like so, bring this up like so. We're going to tab those up so they're facing upward. Bring it over like this, bring this down, unfold all of that, kind of keep this section straight because there's this little groove that's going to fit right there in that little groove right there, and kind of lock it into place like so. So this little bit's kind of poking out right there in the bottom. Okay, there we go. Bring this other one to meet it so it meets right there in the middle, and then tab these square bits into that piece right there. Bring that down. Next, we're going to just fold up this section right here, close these little side panels, close these side panels, rotate this plate onto the back like that, straighten out this, tab it into place on the bottom, and there is his trailer mode with the stands out. Then you just can fold these up. There's a big peg right here. There's a big peg hole right there. And there he is with his trailer attached, an awesome Armada fashion. So the trailer looks really, really great in trailer mode. Very awesome looking. I love how the trailer turned out. It turned out very, very good. Real quick for comparison, here is Optimus next to Hotshot in their vehicle mode, so you can see them side by side, and they look pretty good together. Also for comparison, here is Optimus next to Sparkplug, so you can see them side by side. Look how tiny he is. And they're still pretty much to scale, because the Minicons didn't turn into regular size vehicles. They didn't mass shift up into regular size vehicles despite their alt modes. So that was one of the other cool things about the Minicons in the Armada series, was whatever they were still that size, regardless if they were a tank or a jet, a spaceship, whatever. They were still teeny tiny and still combined with their partners, which unfortunately he can't combine with his partner because all I have is female ports. I have a female port here, female port Optimus. There's no ports to plug them into each other on. Hasbro, I need ports. I need ports or updated Minicons, but I need one of the two. So, I need to unite these characters here. Please, Hasbro. And here is Optimus next to Optimus. So now we have the new updated Optimus Prime next to Power Links, the original Optimus Prime mold of this toy. You can see them side by side. And still roughly the same size, but again, the original is just a little bit broader, a little bit more bulkier, but still roughly the same height, still roughly the same length. And lastly, here is Armada Optimus next to Armada Megatron. So you can see them side by side. And I love how they're roughly the same size, even in their alt modes. They really do look awesome side by side in every mode, in my opinion. These updates are, again, phenomenal. Absolutely awesome. But of course, we still have to do the super mode, right? So transforming Optimus into his super mode, robot mode, is super simple, pretty much just as easy as the original. But again, there's a few more steps because there's a few more moving parts. So what we're going to start by doing is we're going to kind of put him back in robot mode. We're going to kind of start by going in reverse. Let's go ahead and untab these sections right here. Rotate those wheels like we would for robot mode. Then we're going to open those panels that were shin panels. We're going to rotate those super mode, robot mode hands forward. We're going to then bring these down on that other secondary elbow joint that we had previously. Then we're going to undo these couple pieces right here. Bring the chest, and we're going to kind of act like we're going to make it the chest mode again, but don't put it down all the way because we don't want it to tab into place and lock in these shoulder sections, okay? Next, we're going to bring these down just a little bit so it gives us the clearance we need to get these arms free. And then we're going to pull down on this ratchet, split, and untab the arms, rotate it forward, and then we're going to pull out the super mode head, which is going to tab in between these two sections right here. We're going to put these shoulder sections back, and then these arms are going to tab in to the back of these shoulder sections, further securing them into place. I love how well this secures itself in each of its modes also, by the way, just as a note. And then we just bring these arms down, rotate forward, bring the arms down, rotate forward, flare the pipes out, and that's the upper part of the torso done. Now we got to do the rest of him. Now for his pants. I've always thought of these as Optimus Prime's pants. So now for the pants. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this up, we're going to rotate that out, and then we're going to untab this bottom section. We're going to bring that out like so and bring it up like this. And then, of course, bring out this piece because it's going to clip into place. Bring out this little red piece. There we go. Like so. And we're basically going to have him standing forward like this. So we're going to untab these little panels here. Untab these other little panels right here. Untab this midsection. Now, you can take this off. It comes packed as a separate piece, but you don't need to have it in his super mode. You can just have it collapsed and out like this. Then we're going to rotate this whole section because this is going to be towards the back, and here's the front of the legs. Just like we would for his base mode if we were doing that. Fold out what was part of the landing struts for when the trailer is not connected to Optimus. And we're going to shift this whole section over. Fold out that heel spur. Get it lined back up so it tabs into place so the ankle joint's all one piece. We'll go ahead and just untab that and fold that foot down. So there's one leg pretty much all done. Secure that panel. Just lower that hip panel down a little bit. It doesn't tab into anything. Do the same thing over here. Bring that down. Fold that foot out. Fold that heel out. And then just slide this section over. We'll tab that in, securing that all into place. And here is Optimus Prime's pants, as I like to call it. And now all we have to do is take the top piece, take the bottom piece here, line this up, click it into place. It'll be all nice and secure in there. Push that piece up, bring this piece forward, bring this piece down, give him his blaster, and pick a cool pose, because now he's in his super mode. And his super mode looks so fantastically amazing. is fully articulated, and while he didn't have a waist swivel in his main robot mode, just due to the nature of becoming the super mode, his super mode does have a waist articulation, as well as his head is still on a ball joint, fully articulated shoulders on a ratchet, even out this way, upper bicep, single jointed elbows, wrist joints, the fingers open and close, all as one piece, not individually. Already covered the waist, hips, forward and back, upper thigh, single jointed knees, side ankle joints. You can move that heel, that foot up a little bit due to transformation. And that's pretty much it for the Super Mode Optimus. But once again, they absolutely nailed it. They completely improved the Super Mode for what was already a really cool toy with stationary pants, stationary legs, to a fully mobile, fully articulated figure in both of his robot modes, and he looks really great in both modes. So much so that not only do I have trouble figuring out which mode I want to display him in, I know a lot of other fans and collectors are having that same dilemma. Do I display him in his super mode? Do I display him in his robot mode? Do I shell out and buy another one to do both? That's where a lot of fans are at right now, and that's also kind of why I hope they do the Power Links version as well, so that fans have the opportunity to display him in both modes while also having two different versions of this figure rather than just buying two of the same figure. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I know there's a lot of collectors who like to buy multiples of the same Transformer so they can display it in multiple modes just because they like it that much. I don't typically do that, me personally, but I get why collectors do it, and this one figure right here is kind of making me feel like I should, but I don't know if I will. Especially since I still have the OG, and I'll probably just keep him in robot mode and keep this one in super mode. I don't know how many times I've said they nailed it, but they nailed it. This figure is truly amazing. And real quick, one last comparison. I don't want to do all the other figures again with this guy in his super mode, but we are going to compare him next to Megatron, of course, just so you can see the size difference between the two, because the size difference is supposed to be pretty significant, and I feel like it is. This is just about right, I think, from how they were in the show. So yeah, they've done a really good job of better scaling these figures, just like they have with all of the previous updates since Siege, in my opinion. I mean, of all of the other things, scaling has been so amazing. And I mean, not to be one of those collectors, but I'm definitely one of those collectors, and scaling is always something that drives me nuts when I'm collecting my figures, and that was a big issue I had with a lot of figures from both the Generation 1 original days and some of Beast Wars. It was a little bit more consistent in Beast Wars, I think, than it was in Armada, but especially in Armada. I mean, some of those figures were either way too big or way too small. And I don't feel as though Megatron and Optimus weren't well scaled to each other. I still think the original toys were well scaled to each other, but some of the other characters, like Red Alert, like I said earlier, Red Alert definitely needed to be smaller. And Starscream. Starscream is another one that I feel as though was way too big. He was just way too big back in the day, and the newest Starscream fixed all of those scaling issues for me, and at least in my opinion. I think the new Starscream is so much more appropriately scaled and looks so much better. And some of the original Armada figures don't really need updates too much scaling-wise one way or another, like the original Demolisher and Cyclonus, for example, the original Smokescreen, the original Hoist, the original Blur. All of those figures, I feel, are still relatively in good scale with even these updates to today. Now, a couple of those figures could use with some updates themselves, especially articulation-wise, but there's just a handful of figures that the scale is just not it. And definitely Starscream was one of those. And I hope they do for Red Alert what they did for Starscream, because they took what was already a cool toy, just a little on the big side, and made it way cooler and much more screen accurate. And I hope Red Alert gets that treatment, because that's a character that definitely deserves that treatment. Armada Red Alert was a great, great Autobot character. So hopefully we get that. Anyway, there's Optimus and Megatron side by side, so you can see the two of them where Optimus is in his super mode, and who knows, maybe we'll get the Megatron super mode too, because the rumor is, and the prediction is, that Tidal Wave will be a Titan class. I'm saying it now, I'm saying it here. Tidal Wave is going to be next year's Titan. Like it or not, think it's too big or not. Personally, I think they need to go bigger with Tidal Wave rather than smaller, because Tidal Wave was first established as a large Titan-sized character. I mean, when they first introduced him into the cartoon, he was the massive warship that they were trying to defeat. And then he transformed, and yeah, he mass shifted into a little bit of a smaller Decepticon in robot mode, but he's supposed to be a warship. He always was a warship, so he's got to be big. In the original Armada video game, which is my personal favorite take, my personal favorite incarnation of Tidal Wave, especially since you get to explore him while he's in his ship mode in that video game, I don't think anything else will compare to that for me as a Tidal Wave fan, because Tidal Wave was always a cool Decepticon, and that, I think, was where he was at his best. The other cool version, of course, is when Shockwave made him into, or maybe it was Tarantulas. No, I think it was Tarantulas. Made him a blue whale, and they were just using him as their underwater base. That was a really cool take on Tidal Wave. Now, I don't think they're going to do the blue whale version. It's obviously going to be their Armada version. That's the art in the Legacy United artwork. But he's going to be a Titan class. I'm calling it now. And I feel like it's going to be similar into the vein of what they did with Motormaster and Legacy Stunticons, where parts of him are going to break apart to make the super mode bits for when he and Megatron combine, but not all of him is going to combine with Megatron, and I don't think that's totally necessary anyway. He did parts for him to combine with Megatron in the old media. Was it all of him? Yes, but I think that's a fair compromise to appease the fans who want him to combine with Megatron and be sizable next to Super Mode Optimus, and also the fans like myself who want him to be gigantic, because I want him to be gigantic. Now, to be totally honest with you, I'm going to be happy either way. Whether he's Titan size or closer to Commander size and, you know, breaks apart and makes Megatron even bigger and awesomer, I'll be happy either way, but my preference personally is going to be having Tidal Wave as a big Titan. Now, he doesn't need to be as big as like Scorponok, Fortress Maximus, Metroplex. He doesn't need to be that size of Titan. Don't misconstrue what I mean by Titan scale. I think he needs to be more the size of Combiner Wars Devastator, Power of the Prime's Predaking, Siege Omega Supreme, more around that size of the Titan scale. Yes, they're still large. Yes, it would still be a large-scale Tidal Wave figure, but it wouldn't be as far as a stretch in between that Titan scale and Commander class scale where fans either want them one or the other. I see where the compromise could be a little bit met in the middle. Honestly, personally, I think that's going to be the best point for them to deliver on Tidal Wave, and I hope that's what we get, and I have a feeling that is what we're going to get. But more on that when Hasbro officially announces Tidal Wave, which will likely be by April. April is around when Hasbro announces the Commander class and Titan class figure of the year, at least the featured Titan class and Commander class figure for the main line of the year. So we can expect to see the full reveal of Tidal Wave most likely by then. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the comparison on these guys and our speculation for next year's Armada figures. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's review featuring the new Transformers Legacy Evolution Commander class Armada Universe Optimus Prime. Again, I'm not 100% sure yet just because we're not quite finished with the year, but this is definitely most likely going to be my #1 favorite pick of my top 10 figures for the year. Stay tuned for the other content we have coming because there's still lots more Transformers to review and cover and other stuff in between now and then. So like and subscribe, follow us on social media so you don't miss out on previous content or upcoming content. Check out our sister website, cooltoyreview.com for more awesome toy news, video reviews, and other content. If you like Star Wars content, check out rebelscum.com, the world's largest and oldest Star Wars fan website not owned by Disney. They do all kinds of awesome daily content. Like and subscribe to them. If you're looking for some awesome merch, come visit us inside Order 66 Multiverse in the shops at Willowbend Mall in Plano, Texas, which also houses Order 66 Toys, the nation's official collectible Star Wars toy store. And in case you're not local, they go live every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on their Facebook page. Check out collectorsoracle.com, our new archival website. Now, we don't have any Transformers stuff up on there yet. It's mostly Star Wars right now, but there is other stuff coming very soon, and it's free, so sign up today and start managing your collection like a pro. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time. Transform and roll out.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.